Well, Dr. Katy Kamkar is a clinical psychologist and a past chair of the Canadian Psychological Association's traumatic stress sector. She joins us to talk about the trauma of a natural disaster, the long-term effects, and the recovery process. Doctor, good to have you with us. I think we realize now, what people didn't realize in the past, that psychological trauma becomes physical trauma, that the mind-body connection is strong.
You're so right. Absolutely. Well said. First of all, what a devastation. What a sadness. And my heartfelt condolences. As you said, there is always the mind body connection, of course, whether we are talking about our physical health, our mental health, health is health. And we certainly know here with those natural disasters, here we are talking about a devastation with the earthquakes, represent a significant risk factor to our mental health and of course our physical health of the trauma survivors. We know that those events are followed by, as we're able to see, those tragic community devastations, destructions, loss of lives, displacements, loss of precisely everything, our routines. And so when we are talking about the psychological distress associated with those natural disasters, they're typically exacerbated by the stressors that occur in the aftermath of those traumatic events. And of course here, the loss of lives, employment, finances, and housing. Now, when we are talking about this level of magnitude, people tend to go through different stages that we want to appreciate. There's first the impact stage that we are able still to see. The impact stage is the trauma has happened. We're working on protecting our lives, protecting life of others. So of course, we experience a range of emotions, shock, anger, fear, anxiety, sometimes it could even be denial. Then we are talking about the post-disaster rescue phase, which is again, we are still in the middle of that impact phase and this post-disaster rescue phase. And of course, with those range of emotions still, and a lot of feelings of helplessness, feelings of hopelessness, survivor guilt. So there's a lot of this flight and fight response going forward. And after that, we're talking about the recovery stage, which we are not in here right now. But the recovery stage is really the adjustments that people will try to go through to restore some type of living and their housing, their finances, and so on. But that adjustment very much depends on the severity of the impact, on the magnitude of the losses. And we can, again, at times move on into symptoms of more, let's say, psychological disorder, anxiety disorder, trauma and stressor related disorder, the most common one being post-traumatic stress disorder.
Yeah, and I think we see these rescues, and they are such wonderful victories in the face of all that people have lost. We just can't keep our eyes out of that moment when somebody is pulled out into the light after, in this case, 8 or 9 days underneath, and everybody cheers, and it's like, oh, great. But you wonder how that person is going to move forward, especially if they've lost many members of their immediate family, or they've been trapped underground with relatives that did not survive. This has to be just something that they carry with them for the rest of their lives.
Yes, we do carry this for the rest of our lives. I think that, again, there's always individual differences. Everyone will be very different. And that's also very normal. Everyone will go through his or her own pathway. But we also want to remember how resilient and strong we are as human beings. And we have also seen how following those terrible, terrible devastations, how people are able to find certain meanings, appreciations for life, purpose, growth, learning about self, strengthen relationships. So here, throughout all this time, as you mentioned, there's so much hope. We are also joyed when we are able to see those pictures. So again, throughout here, communities to support, self-help groups, spiritual groups, any type of those community supports that people gather for people to know that they are not alone, that healing and positive energy will also be very essential.
All right, Dr. Katy Kamkar, great to have you on our show. Thanks much.
Thank you for having me. Be safe.